Thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel's Making with Marilyn. Now I do all things crafty, but on today's video, I'm going to make a rhinestone bling shirt. Now I made a new fall design about a week ago and then I had to go out of town and I just got back yesterday. So I'm excited to try this out and I'm going to use fall colors. Now I love pinks and purples and turquoises, but for this shirt, I'm going to use these beautiful brown rhinestones. Now I actually ordered these to make footballs for football shirts, but I'm going to go ahead and use a few of these today on this shirt. Now let me look at the color of this. This is coffee, and I got these from the Baby's Booty. So I'll put a link to her store and her YouTube channel in the video description. So part of my design will be using those. And then the other part of my design, I'm going to use these Peridot AB. Now, if you're new to rhinestones, AB stands for Aurora Borealis, and it's a coating that goes over the top, and that causes it to reflect colors of pinks and blues and purples. So even though the base of these are a beautiful light green, I'm going to get some of those colors that I love out of this. So I'm going to put it on a black shirt. Before I press those on, I'll lint roll my shirt to get any excess fibers or lint off. I'm going to cut my design in 2 layers. And so before I show you the design on the computer, I'm going to go ahead and put this on my cutting mat. Now other things I'll use. When it comes time to put the rhinestones in my rhinestone flock, I have my little paint trim brush, a rhinestone picker tool, and then when it comes time to scrape the dots off my mat, I just have this little scraper. Then once I get all the rhinestones in the holes, I have some transfer tape. Now this is hot fix tape. It's special for rhinestones. Now I'm using real rhinestone flock for this because I plan to sell these shirts. And so I want to be able to use my template over and over to make multiple shirts. Now I've cut my flock down. I just use this rotary tool and a metal ruler. And then the way that I like to cut my rhinestone templates is to take this back off. Some people will put this down and cut it with the white back on because it's easier to clean up your cutting mat. I have had the most luck with removing this. So I'll just take this back off, and then the back of the flock itself is sticky. So when you're using actual rhinestone flock and it's sticky, your mat still needs to be decent, but it really doesn't have to be a new mat or anything like that because this is sticky and this is sticky. Now I want to put this down in a way that I don't have bubbles. So I'm just going to lift it up to the top and then push it down with my hands. You can also use a brayer or anything else that helps you get things down flat. All right, now let's jump over to the computer. I'm going to show you my design really quickly and then we'll get to cutting. Now here's the design that I made, and I use Silhouette Business Edition to make my rhinestone templates. You can use Designer Edition if you're only going to cut on a silhouette. Well, I don't have a silhouette. I cut on a Cricut, so I have to be able to save my designs as SVGs, and Designer Edition doesn't do that. I also sell these on Etsy, and so for that reason, I use the Business Edition. Now also notice, in the name of my design, I have my dimensions. So if I click on this, it's grouped together right now. You can see it's 9.537 inches wide. That's the first dimension. And 7.123 tall. That's the second dimension. Now the reason that's important is because when I open this in Cricut Design Space, it is very likely to open in a different size. And then at that time, so that the holes are right for my stones, because your holes have to be within a certain range for your holes to fit correctly, I'll need to resize it to this correct size. And I'm going to show you that here in just a second. All right, I'm just going to move this down here so that when I do open it in Cricut Design Space, I'll still see my dimensions right here. So in Cricut, I'm going to say upload, upload image, And then I'm going to go browse and find this on my desktop. The other way you can do it, you can just go to your desktop, find it, and drag it. So that's what I'll do. Okay, so that came in nice and easy. Now I'm just going to say upload. And it was that fast. I didn't fast forward at all. Now I'm going to click on it and say add it to Canvas. Now at this time, it might say it's a large file, but look, it came in that fast. So it wasn't a problem at all. All right, so notice it came in at 6.07 wide, and it was supposed to be 9.537. So with it selected and still grouped, first I need to make sure my proportions are locked. So I'll lock that lock up. Then I'll change the width. To 9.537. Now when I hit enter, the height should change to 7.123 or something very, very close. Let's see what it is. Okay, it came in at 7.123. Now, if this third digit is a little bit off, that is usually perfectly fine. That doesn't make a big difference. So notice right now they're grouped together. So I'm going to click ungroup, then I'm ready to make it. So I'll just click on make it. And then I want to move this down and over so that I have a little bit of space around it. I don't want it to be right up here at the edge of my flock. It just makes it easier to have a little bit of extra room around it. So I'll say continue. Now I'm using a maker and I'm going to browse materials. I have a custom setting for rhinestone flock. So I'll type in rhinestone and there it is. Now let's look at the settings. Okay, here it is right here, and you can see when I set it up as a custom setting, I set it for 340 pressure, and off means it's just a single cut. It's not going to double cut. I'm using a fine point blade. Let me scroll up so you can see the title up here. Okay, it's asking if it's a multi-cut. That was off, so it's just going to cut once. So let's go back and find that again. I'll click on it and I'll say done. Now at this point, my Cricut's flashing. It's ready for me to put that flock in there. And so we're going to move over there and watch it cut. Now once this first one cuts, and it'll be a lot faster, I'll go ahead and put my second piece of flock in and I'll cut the word fall. Then I'm going to meet you back over at the table. All right, so here's my two templates. So let's see how well these cut. I'm always nervous doing this part because I've had so many instances where they didn't cut well. Now that's when I was using a different machine. And it didn't matter what I did. I could turn up the pressure, I could cut twice, I could do a lot of different things, and it just never would make it quite all the way around to the edge of the circle where it started. So I had to pick out a ton of dots. Well, a friend of mine loaned me her machine, and look how well it does. I don't really want to buy a new machine, but if I'm going to keep doing rhinestone templates, I really need to give hers back to her and buy my own. Maybe Cricut can help me figure out why it's doing that. Okay, so you can see that cut out beautifully. I think I had 2 circles left. One there, and then one over here in the S. Okay, so this is a Mary Made mat, and I got this with some HTV that they sent me, and all I've used it with before is HTV. Now this mat is stickier, probably because it's newer, than the Cricut mat was. All right, I would call that a success. I thought that those were still in A, but now I realized the word vibes goes up in there. I don't think I have a single dot still left in this template. That might be a first for me. All right, my design's a little too wide for the chopping mat. I didn't even think about that. And I don't really want to do it this way because then I won't have enough room for the word vibes. So I'm going to have to sacrifice some of the flock off the sides. Now, does it matter if you get this straight? No, not at all. But that's just me and my little OCD tendencies. I want it to be as straight as possible. Now, I do want it to be smooth. I don't want bubbles under this because I don't want my stones to be able to slide under the flock. And if you get it stuck down right, they are not going to do that. Okay, so I'll trim that down later. It's time to go ahead and put the stones in. And I'm going to do the word fall first. And remember, I'm using those Peridot AB. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So you just dump a bunch on, and I put way too many, usually. We'll see. But you're going to be scraping some off anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Not scraping. You're going to be wiping some off. All right, so you start going in a circular motion with this little brush. And I think I said it earlier, this is just a trim brush, like a paint trim brush. You can get these in Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's. I actually ordered mine off of Amazon, and it came in a 2-pack, I think, for $5 something. So it was really economical. And the town where I live doesn't have any of those stores I just mentioned. So for me, oftentimes, it's just easier to order off of Amazon. Okay, so I have some holes that haven't been filled. I'll come back over here. This is way too many rhinestones. Most people don't do it this bad. Most people don't have this many excess stones. But do what works for you. Okay, so let's try to go ahead and fill in the rest of those holes. I'll show you the whole process on this F, and then I'm just going to fast forward through the rest. Okay, so what I'm looking for are upside down stones, extra stones, and then holes that don't have stones in them. So you may not be able to see it, but I have an extra stone right here, so I'll pick it up and just move it over to an empty hole. And then another extra stone here to fill that hole. Before I put my transfer tape on, I'll really inspect the whole thing. But for now, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and move on, finish out the word fall. I'll fast forward or skip through a lot of it, and then we'll work on the word vibes. So I'm going to go ahead and peel the transfer tape off its backing. And this is some hot fix transfer tape that I've used probably 2 times before. I'm not really sure. I know I've used it, but I'm going to keep using it until it's not sticky enough to pull up my rhinestones. Now, if you watched my last rhinestone video all the way to the end, you saw that I had a fail in this next step. So I'm a little gun shy now. So I'm going to hold this above my design. It's bent up just a little bit, slightly curved, and I'm barely holding on to the sides. So I'm going to put this down onto the rhinestones. Once I start going down with it, I have to just commit. So here we go. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I can tell most of my stones are exactly where they need to be. I do see up here that I need to push on a couple of those to get them back into the holes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over the top. Rub down kind of hard because this is used transfer tape. And I want to make sure that there's good contact between the tape and the stones. Now I'm just going to leave that like that while I work on the word vibes. And y'all, I think I brushed off more stones off of the template that went into the template. So don't do what I do. Be better than me. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my coffee stones in the word vibes. And I'm going to try to be a little conservative this time and not overpack so many on my rhinestone flock. Okay, so I just used the same process. Put the stones on, go in circular motions over them to brush them in, and I'm done. It's a little bit easier to see stones missing, upside down, or open holes when you only have one line to look at. Now this is just a little tool that I got from the Dollar Tree store. I think I saw the Baby's Booty use this a long time ago, and I grabbed one myself, and it makes it pretty easy to get them back into the container where they belong. It's in the kitchen section. It's like a dough cutter or something like that. Something I definitely don't use in my kitchen. So just like before, I'm taking the transfer tape off the backing. And this is another used piece. So again, since this is used, I'm going to rub down pretty hard on these to make sure they have good contact. What I'm going to do is go ahead and pick up the stones. Now I'm going to do it slowly in case any stones don't come up. If I have stones that stay down in their holes, I put the paper back down. I didn't mean to drop the whole thing, but I put the transfer tape back down, rub where it didn't come up, and try again. Now I'm just going to pull this over, let it lay in its back. Then I'll do the exact same thing with the word fall. All right, so there's one that didn't come up. So I'll just press on it and try again. Now don't pull the tape all the way off your template until you know that all your stones are on the tape. It'll just be a lot easier that way. All right, so again, I'm just laying that on its backside. So I have my press heating up to 340 degrees and I have my timer set for 12 seconds. The first thing I want to do is go ahead, press my shirt, get the moisture out, get a nice flat surface, and then I'll use my lint roller just to make sure it's clean. Now I always make sure the collar is off the pad so there's no pressure being put on it. And I do that because when you heat up that collar and put a lot of pressure on it, oftentimes it changes the texture of it. So 10 to 15 seconds is plenty to get that moisture out. Then I really want to focus under where my design will go. Now I want to see where the collar is, so I just pulled the pads forward toward me. That way I can place my design where it goes. Then I'll push it back and I won't have pressure on that collar. Now because it's a V-neck, I don't want 3 inches between the collar and the design. So I'm going to put that on. I'll lift the shirt, see if it looks good. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'll adjust. When I adjust, I'm not going to drag this. I'm going to pick it up and move it. Now either I got really lucky and it was good on the first one, or I'm starting to get less picky. Oops. Now I didn't notice if I was missing a rhinestone before, but I am definitely missing a rhinestone there. So I'm going to go ahead and press it without it. I do have to do the second press when I put vibes on, so I'll put a stone right there, I'll put vibes on, and it'll stick just fine on my second press. Now, as soon as that's done, I can go ahead and remove that carrier sheet. Then I'm going to let it cool down. Now, the reason I'm letting this cool down just a little bit is so that when I put the word vibes down, it doesn't start melting into the shirt, because this shirt's still really hot. And actually, I'm just going to stick that on there for like 2 or 3 seconds. Just long enough that it won't shift when I do my next press. Okay, I think that's fine. So I need to nest the top part of that B right up in the A. Then also, I want to make sure I have this straight. There's enough room in there that you can adjust this a little bit. All right, 12 more seconds and then we're done. Now the frustrating part when I do these videos is, even though it might look good on video, it never captures the beauty like I see it here. That is so, so pretty. Now, if you're interested in this design, I do have it in my Etsy shop. Just make sure you follow the instructions on resizing and all that when you take it into Cricut. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You can leave them in the comment section here, or if you buy it off of Etsy, send me a message through Etsy. So thanks so much for joining me today. Until my next video, bye-bye.